Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Good morning to everybody. I represent today the men and women from government, from the DICT, the CICC, the LEAS. So may I ask the people from government, from the Philippine government, please stand up so that we may recognize them today. I know you're here. I saw you. Yeah. Thank you so much. And also, I'd like to be able to ask the people from Trade Pass, thank you so much for lending the Philippine government and the people of the Philippines a hand in breaking into, again, the post-COVID performance of such scale of number of people together in one room. So, yeah. So I hope you don't mind. I've removed my mask only so that you will be able to see the enthusiasm. And usually you would like to be able to hear public policy pronouncements from people like myself, coming from the ICT department and the CICC conjoined. And I say conjoined because the thrust of this particular government is to rationalize and to harmonize and to be able to put together the strengths and be able to capacitate the Philippines in toto. So today, I keep on mentioning to you the DICT, mainly because there will be very good relationship procedures happening in the next few weeks, and I really mean ASAP. So to the vendors and to the general public, and I always try to say, even if I am actually not vendor attenuated at the moment, it's only because I wish for the public to be able to understand what they see. I wish the public to be able to know exactly the positioning of the government and where they fall into it. And that in terms of the attacks and the breaches and things that are happening around us, is that it is the public who suffers greatly. And it is actually the public and the general public that we wish to protect more than anything. In this direction that the government shall be taking together is that the vendors will have a privilege to be able to showcase their services and their products and the skills of the cyber technologies from the Philippines, which we have been developing. The government, the DICT and the CICC, in the span of 1 year, was able to train not just awareness, almost, if not more than 10,000 government officials with the CompTIA trifecta and now the CICCON series of a year of training, certification training for the government officials. And with this virtual signaling in place, we want you to be able to understand that this will enable the public to be able to have competent government trying to protect the public. The use cases that will be presented by Mr. Laggui are actual use cases. And I wish you to be able to know that in terms of trust, and focus, that the government is with you in this, and that you will be experiencing much more, mainly because we have learned a lot during the COVID times. Not only did we do training for government officials, we made it available for free, and even for the contract of services, job orders, and even for the security guard standing by our building, we give it to them for free. We want everybody to be able to understand it, so that when they say breach, when we say attack, when we say PII, everybody understands it the way we do. And this will give you a chance to be able to also show off your competencies, products, and services to people who understands you. And so that there is not only greater awareness, but a complementary growth in terms of technologies and cyber technology in the Philippines for the world. I am your representative in the UN Ad Hoc Committee on Cybercrime, the treaty that is being done both in New York and in Vienna to supplant the Budapest Convention whether we take minus Budapest Convention, Budapest minus or Budapest plus, meaning to say we take some parts of it only or we take it in toto and add more to it, is still going to be debated on for many number of months. But the DICT and the CICC have already inaugurated it with 10 bilaterals so that there is parity for the Filipinos abroad in terms of their treatment of the Filipinos in the countries where they are, as well as parity in the skill sets that we give to the Filipinos, whether in government or not. I will not take long, and I wish to be able to showcase more of what the Philippine government has done. So today I ask Mr. Laggui to be able to present already. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Drexx Laggui, and I'd like to talk to you about what we've actually been doing in the government for at least for the past few years. And this is just to give evidence to what Director Magsaysay has said. So, next slide, please. Well, the topic here is how do we employ cyber defense for the Philippines' critical infrastructure, and how do we protect our digital assets that are essential to our nation's economy. As you know, the President Bongbong Marcos really has his work cut out for him because we need to increase the economic activity and the GDP of our country. And 3 points that were asked to discuss about this was, one, we need to use the National Cybersecurity Plan as a vision for a trusted and resilient infrastructure, as well as we need to revisit the strategic initiatives of this government to deal with sophisticated attacks. And the sophisticated attacks are the ones that I'll be giving a lot more emphasis on. And then, of course, we need to also establish programs for national cybersecurity drills and exercises to raise awareness and adopt the right norms in cybersecurity, which I believe Director Magsaysay has talked for some time now. Now, next slide, please. So, in revisiting the National Cybersecurity Plan, which I believe Engineer Alan Cabanlong will later dwell upon, there are 3 things there that we need to anchor on. First, we need to enhance the security resilience of critical information infrastructures and the government and the public and military networks to deal with sophisticated attacks. The second one is to increase efforts to promote adoption of cybersecurity measures among individuals. And thirdly, is to grow a pool of cybersecurity experts. And the government is currently has invested and will continue to invest on the manpower. And okay lang, we expect to train people and then they will go to the other SOCs out here. We saw potential recruiters here, and it's fine with us. Anyway, next slide, please. So, I don't know if you can see it, but for the past couple of years alone, actually early 2020, just before when the pandemic happened, actually every time there is an issue with the West Philippine Sea, there's a lot of triggers, and we've been dealing with advanced persistent threat groups for a while. And namely, we have identified China, the bulk of the attacks, India, we have attackers from North Korea, and surprisingly, we haven't really verified it, but an APT in Philippines are here as well. And then, of course, we have the Russians and the Vietnamese. China, as we all know, one of the biggest one, because this was shared by Senator Ontiveros a few summers ago, is Nikon. They are from the PLA, or of the Chinese military, from the Chengdu military region, 2nd Technical Reconnaissance Bureau, or their military designation is 78020. Then there's other one, Override Panda, which specializes in phishing attacks, also known as Goblin Panda, Vixen Panda, Lotus Panda, Predator Panda, and Pirate Panda. One of the observed modus operandi of theirs is to use remote access Trojans, and they were using Taidor, T-A-I-D-O-R. Then we also were attacked with the Hafnium campaign. The Hafnium campaign exploited unpatched systems of organizations, not just of governments, but also cloud-based facilities of commercial and government facilities. They were attacking the Exchange servers. Another APT, we just call them APT-41, also known as Earth Baku. They made the Sparkling Goblin backdoor, as well as the ShadowPad and WinNT malware. Another APT is Tag-16. This one specializes in gathering intelligence on South China Sea related issues, and the Philippines is just one of the countries that they attack. Now, another one is UAC-0026, also known as Scarab. This was in coordination with Ukraine. And this one, they were using our work with the United Nations, like what Director Magsaysay has said, and they were doing phishing using Microsoft Office documents. TA-413 is another APT from China that exploits the Fulina vulnerability. And then we also had Gallium, also known as Soft Cell, which targets telecommunications companies, financial institutions, and government entities using remote access Trojans, namely ping pool. Then we have an attacker from an APT from India. We have identified them as Sidewinder, but they're also known by Rattlesnake or Hardcore Nationalist or Razor Tiger or TAPT-04, also known as APT-C17. This APT from India targets government, military, and economic sectors. From North Korea, we have the more fun name Beagle Boys, and they attack Philippine banks. Of course, everybody knows about Lazarus because of the previous few years ago, what happened. And the Lazarus, they are also known as Dark Soul, which is actually controlled by Bureau 121 of the North Korean military, an intelligence agency. Now, another one is we still don't have many idea about maybe a Philippine-based APT, but we have known them as TA-2722, also known as Balikbayan Foxes. Then, of course, one of the most prominent attackers from the world also comes from Russia, the APT-28, which is from the 85th Main Special Service Center, or the Russian GRU. As many of you know, the GRU is now the current incarnation of the former Soviet Republic KGB. And the APT-28 develops malware called Drovorob. From Vietnam, also with interests in our South China Sea activities and diplomatic missions, is APT-32, and they have been developing malware called Metal Jack and Dennis Rat. Next slide, please. And of course, hindi pa patalo yung local Pinoy, meron din tayong mga adversaries from local Pinoy. There are local criminal hacking groups which our current law enforcers are working on, but we have initially identified Error Squad, who have compromised the Philippine government websites, and then we have the Phantom Troop hackers who have attacked the gov.ph website. And by the way, most of these cases that I'm mentioning are ongoing cases, so we cannot really talk about them in a Q&A later on. But suffice to say that if somebody attacks a government website or any actually critical infrastructure, because of the Philippine Republic Act 11479 on the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, it is defined there that any ICT system that is essential to the delivery of public services are categorized as critical infrastructure. And if they are categorized as critical infrastructure, any person who engages in acts intended to cause extensive interference with, damage, or destruction to critical infrastructure may be charged with terrorism. Then, of course, we have the Grey Hat who have breached a university's database. Oh, by the way, and then, of course, everybody knows about XOSOX, not S. I have been fighting with the spell checker here, but it's XOX. And again, I leave it up to the CICC, and from the viewpoint of the DICT, it's been the NBI and the CICC have been at the forefront of investigating these local criminal hacking groups. Next slide, please. And then there are other cases that we have some trouble attributing to. We don't know who the attackers are, but we have been observing their indicators of compromise. One is we have the persuasion phishing campaign from Vietnam, and then we had the USB ferry attack that have targeted Taiwan and military agencies. And then, of course, there's the Devil Shadow botnet hidden in fake Zoom installers. We have yet to coordinate with our colleague, Mr. Redoble, if this was the Zoom virus that he was mentioning in a few years ago. But we did detect it, and it's called Devil Shadow. Then, of course, we have attacks from the Philippine Communist Hacking Group. They have been trying to vandalize, and they have their efforts to destabilize the Philippine government, especially in the Oust Duterte social media movement. Then, working with Microsoft, Microsoft Center, we were able to mitigate the trick botnet, the command and control, which had possible connections to Russian intelligence agencies, but were in PLDT networks, and I think they were in broadband networks. So, but anyway, we do coordinate with a lot of agencies nationwide. And then, of course, there's the Operation Signsight, which attacks certificate authorities. Operation Signsight, and our country, well, we were able to stave off this Operation Signsight attack. Then, of course, we had the Earth Berberoka, aka Gambling Puppet, which targets gambling websites, POGOs, and as well as the end users of the gamblers who are using Windows, Linux, or even Mac OS platforms. Actually, a lot of the attackers are very, very versatile. Another one that we had worked with was the Google Threat Assessment Group. They attacked, in April and May, they attacked political parties, and they were very, very specific. Persons with Mac laptops, using iPhones, using Viber groups. They had zero-day exploits against Viber groups on Mac. So if you think you're using an iPhone and you're using Mac and you think you're very well secured, no. There's a lot of actually people who target Mac themselves, and it's not as secure as you may think it is. Actually, Mac malware is a very expensive malware. It's a very expensive cyber weapon, and it's developed specifically because in organizational structures, most of the decision makers use Mac. The lower ranking people use cheaper phones. So that's why there is a very thriving economy for cyber weapons targeting Mac users and iPhones. Then, of course, we had the attacks from the ransomware using Alpha V and Black Cat ransomware. This one, again, also targets Windows, Linux, and VMware ESXi systems. And then we've also had problems with the Avos Locker ransomware as a service, and then also with the Lapsus Group from Okta. And here in the Philippines, I don't know if you heard, but there has been collateral damage with regards to the ongoing cyber war from February. No, actually it started like November last year, 2021, until like end of March of this year. There has been collateral damage in the Philippines. One, with regards to this information campaign, when we define cyber war, one is that a server in Converge ICT, one of their networks, it has not been disclosed who owns that network, but they've been used as a Metasploit database as a platform to launch attacks against Ukraine. So that happened, and fortunately, we were able to null that platform in a timely manner. And then also, part of cyber war is disinformation, and we also had issues with the Russian ambassador claiming that the war is just a special operations, and in Philippine Star, it set off a firestorm of responses from other European ambassadors. So there are others, there are collateral damage, so it's not because that sophisticated attacks are happening elsewhere, it will not happen here, it does. So one of the ways to prevent this, as Director Magsaysay have said, is we are increasing efforts to promote adoption of cybersecurity measures among, not just among organizations, but also in individuals. With CERT-PH, we have been working with every government agency to facilitate their development and to increase the maturity level of their CERT-PH, from DOJ to DND to BSP. Basically, we're trying to share this with other certs so we can all have a whole-of-nation approach. And then lastly, another strategic initiative is to grow, next slide please, sorry. Doon na sa number 3. There you go. We are growing our pool of cybersecurity experts, and we recognize that by growing the pool of cybersecurity experts and then training them and then letting them join private companies later on, it's our way of contributing to nation building by increasing the skill level of professionals here in the Philippines. So the initiative of Secretary is to work with TESDA to develop a cybersecurity course because we really need it. We are sorely lacking in manpower. Good thing we have been employing artificial intelligence capabilities and big data to augment the decision-making process and investigation processes in our government. Additionally, we have also acquired a cyber range for DICT so that we can help accelerate, not just tabletop exercises, not just classroom exercises, but actual cyber war combat exercises. So we can help make our country a bit more secure. With that, I will want to close. What are the near future plans of DICT? And when I say near future, this would be this year. Because Secretary Uy is very aggressive in increasing the capability of DICT so that whatever assets we have for the government will be protected and not degrade the value of our assets in the country. There are 3 future plans. First is to upgrade the capabilities of our current cyber-SOC. It has been a few years, it has done its job, but of course, as with any IT project, it needs to be upgraded. We need to upgrade our network behavior anomaly detection. SIEMs and SOARs are in the picture. Then we have to increase our DNS layer protection. We have to improve our vulnerability management capabilities. We have to improve our cloud analysis tools, virtual firewalls, and VPNs. And then, of course, we need to expand our current set of coverage to more government agencies. And then, of course, most important of all is upgrade the humans. We need to put in more phishing response simulation platforms. We need to acquire more threat intelligence feeds. And we need to improve incident response services, including training and tools. So thank you. And that's it. Okay na.
Thank you very much for being our chief guests. All right, thank you very much. A round of applause for Director Mary and Mr. Drexx. Thank you for your insightful views on the current cybersecurity trends and the way forward for a secure digital future in the Philippines. So thank you, ma'am and sir, for trailblazing our session.